So in this video, we are going to apply a function down the length of a column in a data frame so that that function can change the or calculate a new value for every value in the column. And that's useful for a number of different reasons, but one is if we want to classify and run some classification models, it's quite useful to be able to convert data to an encoded set where you've got a much more limited set of values in that column. So what we're going to do here is we're going to run this code to read a data frame that has got information about petrol. So we might be interested in maybe encoding the petrol consumption column so that we can have it classified into two groups, those that are above the average and those that are below the average, and that could be useful for a number of different things. So if we're going to do that, we need to find the median. Well, in this case we will find the median of the petrol consumption, so that we can use that function where we can say if it's above median we'll make it 1, and if it's not above median we'll make it 0. So we're going to create new values from that. So let's print the median so we know what it is. And let's just print one median. And it's 568.5. So we know what that is. So now we're going to apply a function to that data frame. So our data frame petrol df, we're going to apply a function. Now we're going to call this function encode consumption, because that's what it's going to do. So what we need to do is to apply that function. In this case, we're going to add a keyword, axis equals 1, and that means we want to apply the function across the column rather than a row. In this function, what we want to do is to determine whether the thing in the data frame that's in this column, and this column again was petrol consumption, that is greater than the median, which was 568.5. We just want to return 1, else we want to return 0, and I've forgotten the colon on there. So it's simple function, it's just looking at that value, returning 1 if it's above, and otherwise it's returning 0. So it's creating a whole new set of values that we can put in this new column called encoded. So if I run that, what we'll see is we've got a new column at the end there called encoded, and that has wherever the value is below, it's got a 0, wherever it's above or on or above, it's got a 1. So we've classified that column into above or below median. Now at the moment we're kind of hard coding this so that we've got the actual median in there and the actual column that we want to use in there. We could make this much more flexible and much more reusable by actually specifying or sending in the column and sending in the median that we want to use. So let's say we wanted to classify this petrol tax column instead. So what we would need to do in that case would be to say, let's pass in a key. So let's use petrol tax. Let's pass in that key. Actually, let's do petrol consumption first, because we can then show that it's working. If we want this thing at the moment, it's just using petrol consumption as the column, and the median is the median that we calculated up here, and we know it's called median, so we can just assign it to a key called median. So what we need to do here, and we'll do this in two stages just to make it obvious what we're doing, is that first we're going to say median is the keywords with the key median. So keywords is basically a list. It's actually a dictionary, sorry. In the apply parameter list, we must first of all give it the function name so that it knows which function it's running, and then a list of things a list of other things, each of which is labeled. So axis is one key, key is another key, and median is the last key in this one, and that can be flexible. You can have as many or as few as you need. So we've got the median. We're now going to get the key, so that's in the keywords dictionary with the key. And we've now got median and key. So if we were to run this now, we don't now need to put petrol consumption in there, because we know that key should be petrol consumption, and we don't need the actual median in there, which really hard codes it into that particular column. We can just put median in there. So it's going to do exactly the same, we hope, which it has. The encoded column, you've got zeros and ones depending on the value. But if we wanted to use, instead of the consumption column, let's say we wanted to use the petrol tax. Well, if we're going to do that, we're probably going to need to get a new median. So let's call this one tax median. That's going to be the same as this, but with petrol tax as the key, and let's print the tax median. So therefore it's 7.5. Okay, so we know that it's the tax median we want this time. So if the key is petrol tax, the median that we want to pass in is now the tax median. If we now run this again, we will get a different encoded column there. So I've got a different set of noughts and ones, or a different pattern of noughts and ones. The other one was starting with 0. But it'd probably be more useful if we actually had two. Let's do this twice to get 2 columns. So let's say we've got one that's the tax and one that's the consumption. So let's change this one to, and let's do encoded tax, and then let's change this to consumption, and this one to median. So we're back to the original, and let's just call this, now that we've done that, it seems silly to call it encode consumption. Let's just call it encode, which means that we need to change these as well. Okay, so if we run this one now, we should get 2 new columns, and there we are. We've got encoded consumption and encoded tax, and the reason that we are getting the third one is because we're not refreshing that. So there we go. Encoded consumption, encoded tax. And then we've got something that's fairly easy to use to see whether they correlate. So that's a little bit about applying a function. Thank you for watching.